The alley behind Dock Lane smelled like burnt coolant and fried noodles. That part was normal. The silence was not. This sector of the station never went quiet. There were always vendors shouting about fake discounts, pilots arguing about docking fees, someone running from someone else. But tonight, there was nothing. Tar slowed his steps. He was not a brave man. He was a mechanic, a drifter, a professional avoider of trouble. And right now, trouble felt close. That was when he saw her. A shape slumped beside a crate of illegal engine parts. Pale skin. Long blonde hair tangled across her face. And ears. Long, elegant, silver-tipped ears. Tar blinked. Great, he muttered. An unconscious alien woman. Exactly what I needed. He crouched carefully and checked her pulse. Faint. But steady. Her armor was cracked across the ribs. Burn marks spread like spider webs across the metal. This was not station-level weapon damage. This was military. Real military. He glanced around. No guards. No patrols. Whoever hurt her either thought she was dead, or was coming back to make sure. Tar looked at her again. I could walk away, he whispered. He did not walk away. The smallest room on the station. His room was tiny. One bunk. One desk. One heater that worked only when it felt respected. He laid her down gently. Up close, she looked even stranger. Faint patterns shimmered under her skin like distant constellations. Her breathing was soft but uneven. Tar grabbed his medical kit. Most of it was technically illegal. He cleaned the wound. Sterilized a needle. Started stitching. You wake up and try to kill me, he said nervously. Please aim for my bad shoulder. She did not respond. When he finished, he covered her with his only clean blanket and sat on the floor. He should report this. He should call security. Instead, he stayed. And waited. When she opened her eyes. Hours later, she woke. Her eyes were sharp. Not confused. Not weak. Sharp. She studied him like he was a puzzle. Tar raised both hands. Friendly. Mostly friendly. Her ears lifted slightly. She looked down at the bandages. Then back at him. You're welcome, he said. She did not speak. But she accepted the ration bar he offered. She inspected it carefully. Then took a small bite. Her face remained serious. It tastes bad, Tar admitted. I know. Her lips almost moved. Almost. The days between. For 5 days, she stayed. She still did not tell him her name. But she moved through his room with quiet grace. She fixed his heater without being asked. She adjusted a wiring mistake he made. She listened to his endless talking. He showed her star maps on his small projector. When the stars filled the room, something changed in her expression. Longing. You miss home, he said softly. She did not answer. But her silence said yes. Tar began to forget she was dangerous. He began to forget someone had tried to kill her. That was his mistake. The fleet arrives. On the 6th night, the station trembled. Not a normal tremble. Not cargo impact. Not engine shift. This was deep. Heavy. Controlled. Tar felt it in his bones. The woman stood up slowly. Her ears lifted high. Her eyes focused far away. She was listening to something he could not hear. Outside, alarms began to scream. Tar peeked through the blinds. And froze. Warships. Massive. Silver hulls glowing with shifting light. They surrounded the station like predators circling prey. This is bad, Tar whispered. Drones filled the corridors. Scanning. Searching. Footsteps thundered toward his room. Tar grabbed a hydro spanner. It was not a weapon. But it felt heroic in his hand. If they come in, he said nervously, I will mildly inconvenience them. She gently pushed the tool down. Her expression was calm now. Not afraid. Certain. The door slid open. 4 armored soldiers entered. Weapons charged. Tar raised his hands immediately. Welcome. Small room. Big misunderstanding. The soldiers did not look at him. They looked at her. And then. They knelt. All 4. Your radiance, one said. Tar blinked. Oh. The woman stepped forward. And in that moment, she changed. She was no longer wounded. No longer quiet. She stood tall. Commanding. Powerful. Like gravity itself obeyed her. The soldiers bowed their heads. We have searched 26 cycles, their captain said. The fleet awaits your command. Tar slowly lowered his hands. He looked at her. Your royalty. She turned to him. And for the first time, she spoke clearly. My name is Vesa. Her voice was calm. Strong. I am queen of the 12 suns. Tar dropped the hydrospanner. The truth. The soldiers explained. There had been an assassination attempt. Traitors within her own empire. Her escape pod had been damaged. She crashed near the station. Her fleet lost her signal. They searched entire systems. And she had survived because of a drifter mechanic who talked too much. The captain looked at Tar carefully. Did you know who she was? No, Tar said quickly. If I had known, I would have cleaned my room. Vesa almost smiled. Almost. The captain bowed again. We must return immediately, your radiance. Vesa did not move. Instead, she looked at Tar. He saved my life, she said calmly. The soldiers stiffened. He will not be harmed, she added. Tar blinked. Harmed? I was never. Wait, was that an option? No one answered. The invitation. They escorted her to the flagship. Tar walked beside her. His legs felt unstable. The fleet was beautiful and terrifying. Massive ships aligned perfectly in space. Energy shields shimmered like liquid glass. Inside the flagship, the council waited. Elders in silver robes bowed deeply. Your radiance, they said. The Empire awaits your return. Vesa stepped forward. But then she paused. This human saved me, she announced. Murmurs filled the chamber. Tar waved awkwardly. Hi. He treated my wounds, she continued. He protected me without knowing my title. Without asking for reward. Silence fell. A queen's words carried weight. She turned to Tar. You may return to your life, she said gently. Or you may stay. The council looked shocked. Tar's heart pounded. Stay, he repeated. Yes, she said softly. I owe you a debt. And I do not wish our paths to end. He searched her eyes. There was no command there. No pressure. Just truth. He swallowed. I'm not important, he said. I fix broken machines. Her voice was warm. You fixed more than that. For once, Tar had no joke. No sarcasm. Only honesty. He had lived his life drifting. Avoiding responsibility. Avoiding meaning. And now the galaxy itself was offering him something bigger. He took a slow breath. Okay, he said quietly. I'll stay. For now. The council murmured in surprise. Vesa extended her hand. He took it. And in that moment, something changed. Not just for him. For her. For the Empire. For the future. The beginning of something greater. The flagship engines ignited. The fleet shifted formation. The traitors would be judged. The Empire would stabilize. But that was only part of the story. Because something else had begun. In a small room on a forgotten station, a human had chosen kindness over fear. He had acted without knowing reward. Without knowing power. Without knowing who she was. And that mattered. Across the fleet, whispers spread. A human saved the queen. A human stood beside her by choice. Not by command. Not by fear. Choice. That was new. That was dangerous. That was powerful. Tar stood beside Vesa on the bridge as stars stretched into light. He looked at her. She looked forward. Strong. Certain. But her hand remained in his. And for the first time in his life, Tar was not drifting. He had found gravity. And the galaxy had just begun to learn something important. Humans might be small. They might be messy. They might talk too much. But when it matters, they show up. And sometimes, that is enough. The flagship Eclipse of Dawn moved through space like a blade through silk. Stars bent into lines of light. Engines hummed with controlled power. Inside the command bridge, Queen Vessa stood tall, her silver robes flowing softly behind her. Around her, officers moved with perfect discipline. And beside her stood Tar, still holding his hydro spanner. Still unsure how he got here. He tried not to touch anything important. "Are you comfortable?" Vessa asked quietly without turning her head. Tar blinked. "Define comfortable." "Because I'm standing on a warship that could vaporize moons." A nearby officer almost smiled. "Almost." Vessa's voice remained calm. "You are under my protection." "That's what worries me," Tar muttered. The bridge doors opened. The High General entered. Tall, broad, armor dark as deep space. He bowed to Vessa, then looked at Tar. Not warmly. "Your Radiance," the general said. "The traitor fleet has regrouped near the Ardent Belt. They control 3 defensive stations." Vessa's expression sharpened. "Casualties?" "Minimal for now. But they are preparing something." Tar shifted slightly. "Preparing something usually means bad surprise, right?" The general ignored him. Vessa did not. "They attempted to kill me once," she said. "They will try again." The general nodded. Then his eyes returned to Tar. "Your Radiance, with respect, is it wise to bring an untrained human civilian onto a war bridge?" There it was. The doubt. Tar opened his mouth to make a joke. But Vessa spoke first. "He stays." The general bowed again. But his eyes said clearly, "We will see." The first mistake. Hours later, the fleet exited warp near the Ardent Belt. The traitor ships waited. Dark. Angular. Armed. Tar stood near a tactical display, trying to look useful. The officers began issuing commands. Shields up. Fighter wings launch. Defense grid active. The first shots fired. Bright energy beams tore across space. Explosions bloomed like violent flowers. Tar swallowed hard. "This is loud," he said softly. Vessa remained calm. "Stay behind the command line." He nodded. Then something caught his eye. On the tactical map, one of the traitor stations flickered. Just for a second. "Ah," Tar said, pointing. "That thing. Why did it blink?" An officer glanced at it. "Sensor glitch." It didn't look like a glitch. The officer dismissed him. Battle intensified. Then, the station fired. Not at the fleet. At the flagship. A hidden cannon. Massive. The blast slammed into their shields. The bridge shook violently. Officers stumbled. Alarms screamed. Shields dropped to 60%. The general barked orders. "Return fire. Destroy that station." Tar stared at the display again. "That cannon wasn't random," he said quickly. "It powered up from inside the structure. There's a relay core behind the outer shell." The general snapped. "How would you know that?" Tar's hands moved across the interface instinctively. "I fix broken things," he said. "And that design. That's layered shielding. The power source is internal. If you keep shooting the outside, it will just absorb it." Silence fell for half a second. Another blast hit the shields. Vessa turned to him. "Where would you strike?" Tar pointed at a narrow section of the station's ring. "There. It's thinner. Structural venting lines." The general hesitated. Vessa did not. "Redirect fire," she commanded. The fleet adjusted formation. Focused attack. Precise. The beam hit the exact spot Tar marked. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, the station erupted from within. Chain reaction. Explosion after explosion. The hidden cannon died. Silence spread across the bridge. The general slowly looked at Tar. Noted. Tar exhaled. "I really hope that worked." It had. Suspicion and respect. After the battle, the fleet secured the belt. Traitor ships retreated. Damage reports came in. Minimal losses. The crew whispered. The human had spotted the weakness. The human had saved the flagship. The general approached Tar privately. You have engineering training. Some, Tar admitted. Didn't finish. Why? I don't like institutions. The general studied him. You are not military. No. You are not noble. Very no. You are not loyal to the Empire. Tar paused. He looked toward Vesa across the bridge. I'm loyal to her. The general held his gaze for several long seconds. Then he nodded once. Understood. That was the first time the general respected him. The second threat. Victory did not last long. 3 days later, intelligence arrived. The traitors had activated something ancient. An old defense system near the Empire's core world. A planetary weapon. Massive enough to burn continents. It had been abandoned centuries ago. Now it was online again. If they fire it, the general said, millions will die. Vesa's hands tightened slightly. Time to intercept. 8 hours. Tar felt cold. 8 hours was not enough for a fleet battle. Unless, can you disable it remotely? He asked. The general shook his head. Encrypted beyond current access. Tar frowned. Not if the encryption is old. The officers looked confused. He stepped forward. That weapon was built centuries ago. Old systems use physical override keys. Not just digital locks. The general crossed his arms. You assume much. Tar shook his head. I repair junk from 300 systems. Old tech is stubborn. It always has a manual failsafe. Vesa stepped closer. You believe there is an internal core? Yes. And you can disable it? Maybe. The bridge grew quiet. The general said the obvious question. That requires boarding. Tar nodded slowly. Yeah. And the station will be heavily guarded. Probably. And if you fail? Tar shrugged. Then I tried. Vesa looked at him. Not as a queen. As Vesa. You do not have to do this. I know. He smiled slightly. But someone has to. The boarding. A small strike ship detached from the flagship. Minimal crew. Tar. 2 elite soldiers. And Vesa. The general protested her involvement. She ignored him. The ancient weapon platform loomed ahead. Dark metal. Cold. Silent. But inside, energy pulsed. They docked. Airlocks hissed open. The corridors were dim and abandoned. Until they weren't. Traitor guards emerged from shadows. Blaster fire filled the hall. The soldiers returned fire with precision. Tar ducked behind a pillar. This is why I prefer engines, he muttered. They moved deeper. Toward the core. More resistance. More fighting. One soldier fell. The other continued without hesitation. Finally, they reached the central chamber. The weapon core towered above them. Glowing. Charging. 10 minutes until firing. Tar rushed to the control panel. Dust-covered ancient symbols. He wiped it clean. Okay, old design, manual override. Behind him, more guards entered. The last soldier engaged them. Vesa stood at Tar's side. Energy blade in hand. Graceful. Deadly. He found it. A physical key slot. But damaged. Of course, he whispered. Can you repair it? She asked. He examined the internal wiring. Burned circuits. Broken relay. I can try. Blaster fire echoed behind them. Time dropped to 5 minutes. Tar pulled out his small toolkit. Improvised connections. Stripped wires. Rerouted power manually. His hands moved fast. Calm. Focused. 3 minutes. A guard slipped past the soldier. Rushed toward Tar. Vesa intercepted. Her blade flashed. The guard fell. She turned back immediately. Protecting him. 2 minutes. Tar inserted a metal rod into the key slot. Used his spanner to force rotation. The mechanism resisted. He pushed harder. 1 minute, Vesa said quietly. He gritted his teeth. Come on, come on. with a final violent twist. The core shut down. The chamber went dark. Silence. No explosion. No firing. Just stillness. Tar collapsed backward onto the floor, breathing hard. Please tell me that worked. Vesa touched her communicator. The general's voice came through. The weapon has powered down. Relief flooded the chamber. The last guard surrendered. It was over. A human choice. Back on the flagship, the council gathered again. Reports confirmed. Millions saved. The empire secured. The general stood before Vesa. The humans' actions prevented catastrophe. The council murmured agreement. One elder spoke carefully. Your Radiance. Humans are not part of our empire. Yet this one has twice altered its fate. Vesa looked at Tar. He stood awkwardly again. Spanner in hand. I didn't alter fate, he said softly. I just fixed something broken. The elder continued. What do you request as reward? Tar thought. He could ask for wealth, power, title. Instead, he looked at Vesa. Then back at the council. Nothing, he said. Silence. I helped because it was right. Not because I wanted something. The elder studied him. Such loyalty without demand is rare. Tar shook his head. It's not loyalty to an empire. He looked at Vesa again. It's loyalty to a person. Vesa's expression softened. The council understood. This human was not bound by politics. Not by fear. Not by gain. He chose. And that choice mattered. Ending. The empire changes. Weeks later, peace settled across the core worlds. The traitors were dismantled. The weapon destroyed permanently. And something else shifted quietly. Humans, once seen as small and chaotic, were now viewed differently. If one mechanic could save a queen, if one drifter could disable an ancient weapon, what else could they do? On the observation deck, Tar stood beside Vesa. Stars stretched endlessly before them. You know, he said quietly, this is a lot more responsibility than fixing heaters. She smiled softly. You carry it well. He looked at her. I'm still not a hero. No, she agreed. You are something rarer. He tilted his head. What's that? She took his hand gently. Someone who chooses to stand beside me. Below them, the fleet moved in silent formation. Not just protecting a queen, but protecting a future shaped by choice. Tar had once drifted through life without direction. Now he stood at the center of an empire. Not because he was powerful. Not because he was trained. But because when the moment came, he acted. And sometimes, in a galaxy full of advanced civilizations and ancient weapons, that is what truly makes humanity dangerous.